UWW-TV, your home for Warhawk Athletics.
Tamir Thomas, house call on the first play of the drive.
Corralo with the interception at the buzzer. It's in! It's in!
That one's back towards left field. Gone! Ryan Norton goes yard.
Scores, highlights, analysis, and accolades. This is Warhawk Sports Central.
Welcome to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW-TV, your television home for Whitewater sports coverage. I'm Chris Pittner alongside Don Hernandez and Alex Lazzarini. On today's episode, we will discuss the end of the men's basketball season, a peek at the women's basketball postseason following a loss in the WEAC tournament, a look into this past weekend's WEAC Indoor Track and Field Championships, and Whitewater Wrestling's upcoming national qualifier this Saturday. But before we get into that, I want to quickly discuss Whitewater's representation at the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association Student Forum. Don, Laz, UW Whitewater brought home 17 broadcasting awards between UWW-TV and 91.7 The Edge. Alex, talk a little bit about your experience at WBA.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely loved it. The worst part about it was the drive up there. Other than that, seeing Wayne and Larry talk about their experiences and how they got to where they're at. Especially Wayne saying that he worked for the Bears. That's something I didn't know. I thought that was pretty cool despite him being a Packers fan. The career fair was also a great opportunity for students like us to put our foot in the door for internships and whatnot. Going next year, I think would be a good idea for anybody in our major or anybody wanting to pursue a career in broadcasting.
Yeah, I really agree with you, Alex. I thought that there was a lot of useful information. I know I was able to talk to a couple of employers and just gain valuable experience kind of talking about myself and why I could put myself in good positions for future employment opportunities. Don, talk a little bit more about the awards show and how that went for us.
The awards show was a very big eye-opener for me, and I could probably speak for a lot of other students who attended that event as well. Considering us, UW Whitewater, we had multiple first, second, third awards, and we had 17 awards, I believe. And so that was a big eye-opener to me, especially because I'm a freshman here, and you're a junior, so we still have another year of doing this. I have another 3, luckily. Blessed to be a part of that, and big congratulations to all the winners and stuff, but it's definitely big eye-opening because it's like, that could be me. Our good friend Drew Best won 4 awards, and he was a Student Leadership Award winner of the year. So definitely big things anybody can be in those situations. So definitely something to look forward to the next couple of years.
Yeah, I was really inspired through the entire award ceremony. Like, that could be me up there next year. I definitely, I want to hit the ground running this year and just do as much as I can to put myself in the best position possible. When it comes to WBA, maybe I'll be one of the ones holding a plaque next year. Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, once again, what Wayne and Larry said, just get your reps in, get your practice in, and submit those to employers, and maybe they'll take you, maybe they won't, but hey, you still practice and you still tried, and it's something that you can get better at.
I think I can speak for both of you guys that we had a great time at Lambeau last Saturday, but we'll jump in today's topics right after this short break.
A good citizen is someone who wants to make a positive impact, both in their communities and in the world around them. The Division III approach is absolutely the best approach out there for amateur sport because it wants student athletes to explore all parts of who they are. Be successful in the classroom, be successful in competition, be successful in the community. So our student athletes learn what it means to strive for and attain success, but doing it the right way and being good citizens.
Your home for excellence in action. The WIAC Network. Watch and download here.
Matt checking in to see how Sam is doing on his project. And it's getting close to exporting now, the final step in the process. And it is complete, and Sam is hyped. Finally gets complete and spikes the ball into the end zone. Sam's celebrating with his colleagues, and they throw a flag on the play. The ref's going to call excessive celebration. Sam is in disbelief and can't believe it. He tries to dispute the call, but the ref is not having any of it.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central. Despite a loss in the semifinals to the eventual WEAC champion, UW Stout, Whitewater women's basketball still finds themselves as a hosting school in the NCAA tournament. They will play against the Minnesota Morris Cougars on Friday night at 7:45 p.m. following the Milliken-Willamette matchup. The winner of those two games will face off at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday at Catchell Gymnasium. Don, your initial thoughts on the bracket?
Yeah, UW Whitewater is hosting this regional as Whitewater will face the Minnesota Morris Cougars. And I think Whitewater's going to take this one. They're 11-2 at home. They're coming off a loss against UW Stout, and the last time that happened was on February 3rd. And the game after that, Aaliyah Grandal dropped 33 points on lacrosse. So I do think that she comes back and does the same thing and dominates on Friday night, and they take that win. And then that brings me to Milliken versus Willamette. You know, Milliken is 9-3 away, Willamette's 9-2 away. They're kind of in the same boat, but Milliken actually has the number 2 scoring person in D3, which is Elise Knudsen, and she averages about 25 points a game, and that offense is also 4th ranked in D3 as well. So I do think that they take that one, and Whitewater and Milliken will face off on Saturday night.
It's definitely going to be a good test. Chris, what's your input on this regional setup?
I mean, I thought it was really interesting how both UW Whitewater and UW Oshkosh are both hosting. Meanwhile, UW Stout actually has to go on the road to face off against Carroll University in their first matchup, with the regional being held in Waukesha. Whitewater and Oshkosh, despite not winning the WIAC Conference tournament, are the top 2 teams in the region, and I think that had a lot to do with why Whitewater and Oshkosh both got hosting nods over Stout, despite Stout getting hot and winning 9 games in a row to end the year, starting 2-6 in conference, but rebounding very well after that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they picked a great place to host, don't you?
Yeah, I don't really think there's much up for debate. Whitewater was 22-4 this year. They did suffer a tough loss to Stout, in which they started 1 for 15 from beyond the arc. But those type of games happen every once in a while, and Stout just had a really good game plan, so credit to them for sure. They came into that game red hot, actually beating the Warhawks earlier in the season, 69-60, up in Menominee for that game. But Don, any other thoughts on the matchup between the Warhawks and Minnesota Morris on Friday night?
I just think that it'll probably start off as a close game, as you know, both teams are hungry. Carrie Corrado, the head coach for Whitewater, she has past experience on this, as Whitewater took a Sweet 16 trip last year to the NCAA tournament. So I definitely think that she's trying to get that once again.
Well, not to mention, this team also has 3 returning major impact players from their team that made it all the way to the national championship 2 years ago, with Aaliyah Grundal, Maggie Troush, and Casey Corralo all receiving significant minutes on that team.
While the women's team qualifies, the men are left out of the NCAA tournament following a first-round exit in the WEAC tournament to UW Stevens Point, a season where they were one of the preseason favorites to go the distance in D3, became a season where they fell short of the tournament. Chris, with a roster that's very similar to last year's Final Four team, What was the difference for the men this season?
I think a lot of it just honestly had to come down to how other teams viewed the Warhawks. They ran a very similar system this year. A lot of continuity despite the loss of head coach Pat Miller and interim coach Jared Wixer stepping up. I think a lot of it just had to do with how teams viewed the Warhawks. Last year they were a bit more of a dark horse type of situation where they were able to sneak up on teams, but this year they were kind of the opposite, returning a lot of the same impact players. They were just kind of seen more as the hunted rather than the hunter, and I think other teams just kind of were more ready and prepared for this squad and knew exactly what they could bring on a game-by-game basis. Don, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. At the same time, they're dealing with a lot of new stuff. They have a new coach, first-year head coach in Jared Wixer, and that can sometimes be affected towards a basketball team once you're dealing with something new. So I definitely agree with you on that.
Each of the women's NCAA tournament games at Catcher Gymnasium will be broadcast live by UWW-TV with pregame coverage beginning 10 minutes prior to tip-off. Coming up after the break, our latest episode of Inside Warhawk Sports and a recap of the WEAC Track and Field Championships in Whitewater's Catcher Fieldhouse. We'll be right back.
We'd love to show you what it's like to be a Warhawk.
Come on!
Don't miss out on your chance to be a Warhawk
at UW Whitewater.
You belong here!
Passion's love. Passion is love for what you do. Because I think when you face challenges, it comes down to how much you want it and how much you love it. Passion is what keeps you going forward. Seeing so many people that were like-minded and so hardworking in their sport and academics, being surrounded by like-minded people makes you want to be more passionate. I think it pushes you to a different level that maybe you didn't think you had. And you can do the best of both worlds and love all of it.
UWW-TV has been an important part of the campus and community since 1980.
Not only providing on-air learning opportunities for broadcast journalists and electronic media production students,
but educating and entertaining our audiences with award-winning news, live sports coverage, original programming,
as well as dedicating the mission to developing creative collaborations throughout campus.
For more information, visit our website and like us on Facebook.
Check us out because you gotta see what's on UWW-TV.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on!
Stepped it anyways. Oh, she got that off. They're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside Warhawk Sports on UWW-TV. I'm your host, AJ Kober, joined by Warhawk Track and Field head coach Mike Johnson. Coach, since joining Whitewater in 2010, track and field has finished top 5 for the men's indoor and outdoor teams every year in the WEAC championships. What factors have contributed to the success?
Well, I think a lot of it is attributed to our team itself. So we have a great chemistry. That's contagious. That's infectious. People hear about that, so it's something that as we recruit, we're known. Hey, we've got a great program, but not just athletically, also the culture, and so that really draws people in. We have great facilities. We rival a lot of the facilities in the Midwest in Division I schools and beyond that, so knowing that in the Midwest weather we have a great place to train, whether it's inside or outside. And then our university, it offers a lot of academic programs, a big variety compared to some other schools, so we really market that when we recruit. I think those are the biggest factors that have put us where we are right now.
You also coach the women's team, who have 31 individual conference championships themselves. How do you find the balance between coaching the men's and women's teams?
Sure, it's really pretty easy. I think the way they're coached is not that much different. Probably the biggest challenge is the amount of people, but we're fortunate enough to have a large staff where we can divide the work up and still be able to focus on their individual development, so we get to know them as a person, what makes them tick, how we can train them individually instead of just one big group. And so that makes it relatively easy with having the many hands make light work.
You graduated from Whitewater in the mid-2000s and went to UW-Stevens Point as an assistant coach before coming back to Whitewater as a head coach. How has your journey led you back to Whitewater as a head coach of the track and field teams?
Well, I was pretty lucky. I think my athletic director that I had as an athlete was still here, saw a lot of potential in me, and then some changes were made here. So I got to come back here in a pretty short time span, but it was a great opportunity to come back and be a part of the program that you were in to begin with. But it's pretty unique, I would say. There's a lot of coaches that move many times before they kind of find their destination job, and I feel like I'm there and have been there for quite a long time. So really I got to go away and get some new experiences and see some things from a different angle, and I think that's just helped me make this program much better.
We're a couple weeks away from the indoor championships, then comes the outdoor season. What is the transition like for these athletes to go from the indoor season to the outdoor season?
I think we're always preparing for outdoors even when we're indoors. There really isn't a lot of time in terms of the climate. When our season ends, a couple weeks really, we can start having outdoor competitions, but the weather usually doesn't cooperate. So we're usually trying to focus on how do we do that throughout the indoor season given our limitations. But adjusting how we train, the training loads, what we're doing, how we're training through competitions or not is the way we kind of focus on it. So when we do have those outdoor meets, it's not waiting until that point for us to get used to it. And that seemed to work really well for us.
Great work there from AJ Kober and Josh Jacoby on Inside Warhawk Sports. Always great to hear episodes from them. Alex, your thoughts?
Yeah, that episode was great. It showed a lot about the track team. I loved how it showed how prepared they were. They looked like they were coming out for war. Mike Johnson, just a great head coach, like you said, or like the episode said, excuse me. They just go out there and they expect greatness every time. And I think that's a big part of the culture we build here, especially for that track team and especially for the football and basketball team as well and other teams. But this track team really just looked successful, and they were successful this weekend.
Definitely. Warhawk Sports is always big and huge here. You're always expecting the most out of every single team that you look forward to seeing. How about your thoughts, Chris?
Yeah, I really thought Mike Johnson being an alumni here really speaks to just the volume and culture that we put into this program. And it's just so impressive how so many of our coaches are actually alumni, and they go on to lead their own successful programs once they're done with their education.
Whitewater Track and Field hosted the Indoor WEAG Championships this past weekend. The men's and women's team finished in 4th and 5th place, respectively, but had several strong performances on each side. Alex, why don't you start talking about this weekend's performance by the men's team?
Yeah, overall it was a very successful weekend for them. Gunnar Schlender in the 3,000-meter race reached the line in just 8 minutes and 17 seconds to take the gold. Not far behind him, we had Christian Patska with a time of 8:19. Dan Anderson also put up a personal best 5th place finish, which is good to see him progressing as he runs. Shelvin Garrett II took 1st place in the triple jump with a distance of 15.1 meters. Just, once again, very successful weekend. You could tell that they just wanted to come out and win it all.
Very successful weekend here at Whitewater, of course. Chris, how about your thoughts about the women's team?
Yeah, I think the women's team really replicated a lot of the success that the men's team did. I think the standout performer was definitely Tina Shelton, who took 1st place in the 200-meter dash and also took a 2nd place in the 60-meter dash. Then there was also another 1st place, and that was the women's distance medley relay team, who finished 1st in that relay. There's another relay team as well. The women's 4x400-meter dash team finished 4th in their race. Then Paige Fassbender also finished 5th in the 800-meter dash. Then moving over to the field side, Gracie Holland took 4th in the pole vault. Just a really successful weekend by the Warhawks, both on the track and in the field. When we return from break, a preview of Whitewater Wrestling's final NCAA qualifier coming up this weekend. We'll be right back here on Warhawk Sports Central right after this.
Responsibility is being accountable for your words and actions, first and foremost. It also is an obligation to be a positive influence in the communities around you. Being in a D3 program, you're going to have lots of different opportunities. You're not just an athlete, you're also involved in student life. Your academics are extremely important. We give a lot of our student athletes responsibilities right from the start by giving them leadership opportunities, by having them engage in the community, be a positive influence. That's being a responsible person.
The Wisconsin Intercollegiate Athletic Conference. We're here to compete, to inspire, to grow, and to make history. We are rooted in tradition. For over a century, we have contended as the premier conference within Division III.
I shot the
ball! We are united throughout Wisconsin. All 8 of our full-time member institutions are based in our great state. But although Wisconsin is our home, our impact reverberates across the entire nation, crowning 180 national team championships and counting. Our mission is to shape student athletes who excel academically and athletically, equipped to become leaders in life. We are here to build on our enduring legacy and move boldly forward into the future. We are the WIAC, Excellence in Action.
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
Welcome back to Warhawk Sports Central on UWW TV. This weekend, UW Whitewater Wrestling will compete in the Upper Midwest Regional, the final qualifier for the NCAA tournament. Whitewater will send 10 athletes from different weight classes who will all compete to punch their ticket to the national championships in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Chris, give us some insight into the Warhawk Wrestling season up to this point.
I think the Warhawks have had an incredibly successful year this year, boasting an 11-7 record and also a third-place finish in the WIAC tournament. They had 2 individual winners with Dominic Malander and Ethan Pogorzelski, who both took home first place in their respective weight classes. And they also had 4 other performers who finished in second, headlined by Ryan Reiser, Scott Bussey, and Jermaine Butler, who all took second place. And Jermaine Butler was also on the first team all-sportsmanship, a really good showing for him. Don, looking forward to this national qualifier, what can you expect from these Warhawks?
What you can expect from these Warhawks? Let me give you two good names. First, we're going to start off with Dominic Melander, a now back-to-back two-time WEAC champion in his 133-pound weight class, recently getting his second championship this past Saturday. A great win on him. And then we look at Ethan Pogrzewski, who secured his 141-pound WEAC championship this past Saturday as well. Just two dominant guys ready to take it on. And not to mention Ethan Pogrzewski, he actually had to beat his own teammate to secure that. So that even brings in another guy from Whitewater. We can definitely expect some Whitewater Warhawks going on to nationals this weekend.
Yeah, I fully agree with you, Don, on that. And not to mention, Jermaine Butler and Scott Bussey are also freshmen this year, which makes it even more impressive that they've put in the performances that they have so far this year, and they're looking to build on that in the future with other spectacular performances in years to come. Thank you for tuning in to Warhawk Sports Central. Be sure to check out uwwtv.org for more sports, news, and other entertainment programming. From Don, Laz, and our entire crew, I'm Chris Pittner saying so long for now from UWW-TV's Conover studio. We'll be back with more coverage of UW Whitewater athletics next time on Warhawk Sports Central.